to Bury the Turbo. Today I'm going to make a Kissing Rebirth featuring the new Reuniclus from Silver Tempest with a self-rock attack doing 60 damage to their active, plus a special effect of placing 3 damage counter on 2 of their bench Pokemon for only 2 colorless, so it's a very cool spread damage attacker. We also have our Persistent Cell ability to loop the evolution, returning this Pokemon into your hand if it is knocked out by damage from your opponent's attacks. So we get to return our Duosion and Solosis as well, and that means we get to loop the evolution. If you have a Duosion and a Solosis on your bench, you get to evolve into the stage 2, have another stage 1, and also bench back the basic. On your next turn, have all 3 stages in play. You get to do that every single turn though, which is super cool. You don't need that many rare candies anymore, but the reason we're playing 4 copies is because we actually need to evolve fast. We need to be doing our first attack on our second turn. If we don't do our attack fast, we're done for. We need to also constantly attack. We need to attack every single turn for this deck just because we're doing very low damage with Self-Arc, but we are doing a lot of damage with Jynx though. Jynx actually gets to collect the knockout against VSTAR, against VMAXs, or even 1-price decks. We get to collect the knockout against high HP Pokemon, stage 2 cards with Psychic Assault, and he also has the very powerful ability Selfish Lips, which denies your opponent from drawing any prizes if it is knocked out by damage from your opponent's V Pokemon. So if they kill your Jynx with a V Pokemon, they are not allowed to draw a single prize. So we also have the Psychic Assault to basically do 10 more damage for each damage on the opponent's active Pokemon, and that is doing a lot of damage, killing off V-Stars, and it's a free attack because your opponent is not drawing a prize for it, so he's basically giving you an extra attack, an extra turn, an extra whole turn to do a free attack, which is so cool. And we also have our Snorlax to do Gormandize, drawing cards, helping us do the draw sport. We have 1 copy of Meowstic to help us search our deck for any 2 supporter cards with Inviting Ears, a super cool new ability from Silver Tempest, helping us search for any 2 supporters. We can search for our Bruno, Marnie, Raihan, Serena. We're playing 2 copies of Serena in this deck to help us target anything from the bench. We can drag out a V Pokemon on the bench or even draw cards with this supporter. We also have 1 Pal Pad to shuffle back our supporter cards to help us recycle them, and 1 Bird Keeper to help us retreat from our Snorlax to help us attack with our Reuniclus on our second turn. We need to attack fast and non-stop to help us get enough damage in the game for us to transfer with Alakazam, and also for us to do enough damage with Jynx to collect the knockout. So Alakazam can actually help you transfer to any one of your opponent's Pokemon that you want to target. If you want to target a VMAX on the bench, you can actually do a Serena later on in the game, but you actually need to get enough damage counter on that Pokemon. With your Painful Spoons ability, you need to transfer enough damage counter onto that Pokemon, and also you need to target that Pokemon with your Self-Arc by choosing that Pokemon to hit with the 3 damage counters, and you need to get enough damage in the game before you can do the knockout with your Jynx. Obviously play your Jynx as early as you can, but if you do it too early though, it may not actually help you that much. And also, if your opponent don't kill your Jynx, you can actually force your opponent to kill your Jynx by putting it into an active spot by attacking with your Jynx early. And if you do that though, even though you're not doing enough damage, your opponent is actually forced to deal with the Jynx. If they don't kill the Jynx, it's gonna do more and more damage, and you know they're gonna be screwed because it's doing so much damage, it's gonna collect so much knockouts, and they're gonna draw 0 prizes for it. So if they keep avoiding your Jynx, you're gonna be able to kill VMAXs a lot easier. So you don't even need your Reuniclus. You can actually use your first Reuniclus, and then after that, keep on playing Jynxes until they kill it, and then play another Reuniclus before you play your second Jynx. And obviously, we need to play our Rod to cycle back our Jynx because Jynx is, the power card for this deck. If we attack with this Pokemon, and if they keep avoiding it, we get to do more damage. If they kill it, they are not drawing any prize. We get to do our Self-Arc more times. So it's actually a pretty cool combo. We can also attack with Alakazam, by the way, doing Mind Ruler for 20x damage for each card in your opponent's hand, for 1 Psychic and 1 colorless. So if your opponent is not aware of this attack, or if they are not aware that you can actually collect a knockout with Mind Ruler, they may not count their hand every single turn though. I don't think your opponent would be counting their hand every single turn, right? So they may have, for example, 6 cards in their hand, and then if they do double knockout, if they do like Inteleon Snipe for 2 knockouts, because Solosis actually has only 40 HP, so they can quite easily do an Inteleon Snipe to knock it out. So if they do draw 2 prizes as well, they actually have 8 cards in their hand passing the turn, and that means you're doing 160 damage. That's actually enough to kill a VMAX to collect the knockout after placing enough damage counters with your Self-Arc. So if you're spreading damage as well, doing that much damage is gonna kill VMAXs and V-Stars with 1 hit. So Mind Ruler is an important attack that you need to be thinking about. That's why we have 2 Raihans in this deck to Raihan for not only Jynx and Reuniclus to attack with the double energy, but also for Radiant Alakazam, because this card can actually do a ridiculous amount of damage. And we can also attack with Snorlax, by the way, doing body slam early, just because we are playing so many double turbo and twin energies. We can actually deal with one price decks if we can. If we are up against a low HP Pokemon deck like a Lunatone Solrock, we need to be doing body slam fast to collect knockouts early, because we can actually spread the damage later and transfer them to the Lunatone afterwards to do a knockout with painful spoons. So we also have our regular setup cards: 4 VIP Pass, 4 Quick Ball, 1 Level Ball, and 2 Capture to get our basic Pokemons, 3 Incense and 2 Ultra Ball to get our evolutions, 1 Rod to drop back our Pokemon energies, and 1 Gape Jaw, 1 Choice Belt, and 1 Horror Energy to get extra damage counters into the game, so that we get to spread them even more and get even more damage with our Psychic Assault. So that's all for the deck list. Now let's go for some gameplay! Okay, let's go with our first game versus Arceus with Goodra VSTAR. Huge tanker. So they got either one shot at Star Birth. They can either choose to use Star Birth or Moisture Star. They can't use both in a single game. So I don't think it's actually that that powerful as opposed to a full Goodra deck. But Goodra is not really that strong either. If you play any supports on your bench, your opponent can quite easily do an escape rope boss to knock out your Goodra VSTAR after removing the effect. That means you essentially have no damage reduction buff. Their damage is not reduced. If they play enough escape ropes in their deck, they can pull it off. If they shady for the escape rope, they can do a boss after. So it's quite easy to deal with Goodra. If you are playing the meta, if you have, if you are interested in meta games, and if you are, if you are playing to win competitions, and if you are, a meta player, I don't think Goodra really is that powerful. Because you can quite easily do an OHKO. You can quite easily kill it before it heals, before it, before even it evolves, actually. Eventually, they're gonna have at least one Goodra VSTAR in the active, though, that you're gonna have to deal with. But obviously, if they play any bench support, you can do the escape rope. If they don't, though, you just need 2 turns to kill probably the final Goodra VSTAR. You just need 2 more turns, like an extra turn, not 2 more turns. 1 extra turn, which isn't really much because they're not doing a lot of damage either. They're only doing 230. I don't think it's that strong, just because one price dex has the potential to do up to 300 plus damage, like Torterra. What else? Can't really think of anything at the moment. Dewgong. There are a lot of one price decks that can hit, unlimited damage, as long as you can get as many energies or as many cards in your hand or whatever. Malamar, you can hit quite a lot of damage and do a one-hit knockout against Goodra quite easily, honestly. If you just wait a few turns, like Lunatone as well, if you play a Lunatone against Goodra, you just need to wait a few turns. Don't attack the Goodra, just don't attack it until you have the knockout condition. Just keep your energies attached to the Lunatone. Maybe play a Diancie for your Lunatone Solrock deck. Diancie to prevent them from doing a boss. If they play an escape rope, though, they can do a boss. So maybe play extra copies of Diancie. I don't think you get to play that many, though, just because you need Solrocks on the bench. So there is always a counter for every card, I suppose. There's a counter for Goodra, there's a counter for Diancie, there's a counter for Shady Dealings, there's a counter for Rapid Strike, Single Strike, and Fusion Strike with Drapion. Especially Mew VMAX, there's now a Drapion, which is really, really good. Okay, let's snipe the Arceus. Well, we're not sniping. Alakazam is only transferring damage counters, so I would love to play a Radiant Blastoise for this deck, but just because we're playing a full Psychic deck, I prefer to just add another Psychic Pokemon to make it a Radiant Alakazam instead. And it actually works really well, though, just because you are spreading damage across all of their Pokemon with Cell Fork, and that means you get to transfer them to their, any one of their Pokemon that you choose to concentrate those damage counters, to basically funnel those damage counters onto a single Pokemon until they are close to half HP. And once they are close to half HP, you can basically do the knockout with your Jynx. Jynx is enough to kill it, or if not, is enough to, do enough damage until on the next turn, you just need one more painful spoons to knock it out. or one more Cell Fork and Painful Spoons. You know, you're doing 3 extra damage counters on a bench, 60 extra damage in the active with your Cell Fork, or possibly 90 if you have that Choice Belt, that one copy. And you also have that Horror Energy to place extra damage counters. You can even transfer with Alakazam 2 more damage counters from other, you know, something like a Crobat V on the bench that you don't need to knock out, because Crobat has way too high HP. If they have something else though, like Radiant Pokemons on the bench, nothing but a Radiant Pokemon and a Crobat V, you should be targeting the Crobat V. In addition to obviously another V Pokemon, or you know, something that you're preparing to attack with, like Goodra, or you know, I don't know, another Arceus. Lucky Ice Pop. Oh my goodness, they're healing. So this is a really painful. This is a really painful game just because they are playing a heal deck, and we're doing very little damage. We're doing tiny bit of damage turn after turn. 60 plus 30 plus 30. That's very low. Only 120 total damage. With the Choice Belt though, we're doing 150, but it is just 2 energies, and you get to keep cycling that attack, which is super cool. You just need 1 Solosis, 1 Duosion on your bench, and a Reuniclus attacking in the active, and you get to keep cycling that attack over and over every single turn without having to, you know, without having to evolve, because you automatically put those cards back into your hand. That means you automatically get to evolve into the stage 1 and the stage 2 and re-bench the Solosis right after the knockout. You know, constantly, you're basically looping the attacker, doing Cell Fork every single turn over and over and over, but it's not doing a lot of damage, so you actually have to think of some way to make this deck, to make the combo work, to make this card work. And I think we figured out the perfect strategy, just because Jynx is denying them from drawing a prize. If they are playing high HP Pokemons like a VSTAR, VMAX, Jynx is actually enough to kill them while denying them that extra prize. Enough to buy us that extra few turns to collect the knockout with another Reuniclus on the next turn. Or if they don't deal with the Jynx, we can Psychic Assault a second time. Psychic Assault is very powerful, as I mentioned in the deck review, and if they don't, you know, if they don't put a stop to it, it's gonna get more and more powerful over time, and they're gonna have to watch out for that. Okay, they played an Avery. Avery is very dangerous for a 1 price deck, especially if you need to bench so many of your Reuniclus. If you're looping that card, you need, as I said, 1 Solosis and 1 of the stage 1 on your bench every single turn. In addition to the Radiant Alakazam with a Meowstic, with a Espurr on your bench, you essentially have a full bench. So I think we need a Rod. That's why we added a Rod in this deck. Initially, I didn't actually put a Rod. I added, you know, cards like Mimikyu. I really wanted to play Mimikyu for this deck. Mimikyu from Lost Origin and Mimikyu from Vivid Voltage as well, to jam them from healing their bench. They cannot heal with Radiant Serena, which is a big thing now. It's not really that big though, but you know, you could still use it for your Arceus VSTAR decks. If you play Radiant Serena, you can heal 20 damage from each of your Pokemon, including the bench. But if you have a Mimikyu on your bench, both players cannot heal any damage from their bench Pokemons. Bench Pokemons cannot be healed, and that's a big thing. And we also have, you know, for the original list that I really wanted to make it work, but you know, it really doesn't work just because it's not consistent enough. It doesn't really, it doesn't really work against the meta. It's too slow, and we don't have, you know, enough rods. We don't have ways to cycle those cards. We can actually recover our Reuniclus, but we can't recover Alakazam if they boss knock it out. If they boss or Avery and kill anything that isn't a Reuniclus, if they deal with the Jynx before we can use Psychic Assault, we actually can't recycle, we can't, you know, use Psychic Assault, we can't use those abilities or attacks anymore if we don't play a Rod in the deck. That's why I eventually decided to cut out the Mimikyu for those Rods and an extra Raihan or something like that. I forgot what I swapped it out for, but Mimikyu doesn't really add much value, just because if you kind of need extra bosses, Serena or Escape Ropes with your Mimikyu from Lost Origin. If you don't play those cards, what's the attack called again? If you don't play those cards, I forgot the attack. Oh my goodness. Mimikyu. You know, for each damage counter on all of your opponent's Pokemon, this attack does 10 damage, 10x damage. And it actually has a cost of 1 Psychic and 1 Colorless. I forgot the attack. I totally forgot the attack, but it's a 1 price Mimikyu, and it does a lot of damage if you have like a lot of damage counters on all of your opponent's Pokemon. So right now, they have 12 damage counter on the Gardevoir, and like 9 damage counter on the Arceus, we can actually kill plus 6 damage counter on the Goodra, 5, my bad. So that's a total of 170 plus 90. How much is that? That's a total of 280 actually. It's enough to kill a second Arceus VSTAR on the bench. But if you use your Mimikyu to kill the Arceus in the active, that means on your next turn, if you revive the Mimikyu, if you play a second Mimikyu, it's not going to do as much damage. You know, your next Mimikyu is going to do a lot less damage. If you knock it out, if you knock out especially the Pokemon with the most damage counters on it, then on the next turn, you're not going to do as much damage anymore, and Mimikyu is going to be useless after that. So that's why I decided, you know what, we should maybe play one copy or just not at all. And even just one copy is not really that powerful just because they are drawing a prize though. If they kill a Mimikyu, they are drawing a prize. If they kill a Jynx, they're not drawing any prizes. So I would rather play more Jynxes. I would rather play a Rod to recycle the Jynx and play it more times than to swap that Rod out for Mimikyu. You still kind of need the heal jamming one though. Heal jamming kind of blocks off Crystal Cave, Radiant Serena, Cheryl on the bench. Cheryl on the bench is terrible. I fought against Palkia V-Star with Kyurem and I got so close at winning. Not really winning, but we got really close at, you know, reaching a point where we have the potential to win. I know that sounds terrible. I know that sounds pathetic, but that's how tight this game is. Like, Reuniclus is not a good card, and when I first built this deck, I had way too many unnecessary cards, and I got really close to having that sweet spot, like, you know, getting that lucky win. But at that perfect time, at the last minute, they pull off a Cheryl, and I was like, what the actual fuck? We have a Mimikyu, we have a heal jamming Mimikyu inside the deck, and we did not bench it, and we didn't realize that they have a Cheryl, and they just pull it out. They're not playing any shady dealings. They're only playing Oranguru. They have Raining Greninja. They don't even have a Oranguru in their bench. They have it in their deck, I think discarded, but they don't have shady dealings. They have Greninja only on the bench with Palkia and Kyurem. So it's quite an easy Palkia Kyurem deck to match up against. Quite a not really that meta and not really that powerful. So we should actually have a slight advantage of winning. We should be able to win that Palkia Kyurem deck, but just because they play a Cheryl, we're done for. So if you have a Mewtwo in play, if you have it on your bench, you actually get to block your opponent from healing their bench Pokemon, their bench evolutions with a Cheryl, because Cheryl recovers all of their evolution Pokemons, which is just horrible. Okay, we did Psychic Assault for the knockout, doing 180 damage, killing off a VMAX. But it's actually a V-Star, unfortunately. And here comes the Goodra. If they evolve, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to knock it out, but not too much. We got our second Jynx ready to go, and we just need to cycle it. We just need to Bruno for a Rod and keep on using the Jynx over and over. We may not have enough energies though. We need to dig out the Raihan. We have 2 double turbos now. So when I first built this deck, we have only 2 twin energies and like 1 Raihan. 1 Raihan, 1 Pal Pad, and 4 twin energies. My bad. So now we actually have an extra Raihan and an extra additional 2 double turbos. Double turbo is kind of, you really can't go without that card. I don't like the damage reduction because you're already doing such, like, you're really doing basically virtually 0 damage, right? You're doing such low damage with your Reuniclus. Only 3 damage counter on 2 of their bench and only 40 damage in the active. For 2 energies for stage 2, that's super weak. That's like super weak. And I don't like playing double turbo, but we have 1 choice belt, so we should be good. The thing is, it's better to attack with, you know, 40 damage on the active. It's better to do only 40 than nothing at all. It's better to do some damage than 0 damage. We don't want to be passing the turn not attacking. We don't want to be having having 0 damage in the game. We have to attack every single turn. Like, I can't stress it enough. You have no choice. You cannot pass a turn. It's just way too tight. So that's why we have 2 double turbos now. And 3 incense, 2 ultra ball actually helps us do the rare candy evolution quite easily. The ratio is quite difficult to figure out. I initially started out with only 3 rare candies, and now I, decided, you know what, we actually need 4, because if we don't do our rare candy evolution on our second turn, it's going to be a lot more difficult to win against a meta. You actually need to play a rare candy and a stage 1 evolution, and then on the next turn you can loop back the attacker, you can loop back the Reuniclus and attack with your second one by evolving the Duosion on your bench with the Reuniclus that just got returned into your hand. If they play Lost City, I actually got paired against Lost City decks quite a few times and won a few times, but the game freezed a lot, so I can't actually show it in this video. The game was like really buggy, and it was like there was really choppy. It was lagging a lot, and the frames were really choppy, so I can't really show it in this video. So for that game, they played Lost City and they killed our Reuniclus. And after that, what happens is they will give you the option. They will give you the option to either put it back into your hand or into the Lost Zone. But you have to be careful though. The Lost Zone, the option, the box is kind of like yes and no. And the yes button is normally to the right of the screen, and the no is to the left. So normally if you play a Marnie or a Bruno, they would ask you, do you really want to play this card? Because you're actually, you would end up with less cards in your hand if you play a Bruno, because, your opponent hasn't knocked out your opponent on the last turn, your opponent hasn't knocked out your Pokemon. On your last turn, you have more than 4 cards in your hand. If you play a Bruno right now, you're going to have less cards than you have, in your hand. And you're possibly going to screw yourself over. So if you have more cards in your hand as well than 5, they're going to question you, do you really want to play a Marnie right now? They're going to ask you the question yes or no. And if you really want to play that Marnie, you're going to have to click yes. And the yes button is normally to the right. And normally, by habit, you would click the right button. But now, the Lost Zone button is to the right. So you should be aware of that. Don't click on the right button. Click on the left button if you want to return that card into your hand. And normally, we should be returning that card into our hand because we want to be using that attack every single turn. We want to keep on evolving our Reuniclus non-stop. And here we go, only 40 damage, but it does add up though. It does add up. You'll see in the end. Alakazam is not yet in the field. I think they just knocked it out, so we should be playing our Rod to reuse his ability. I don't think we can go without Painful Spoons. So Solosis is only 40 HP. Watch out for Shadow Rider. Shadow Rider, the basic, can do Astral Barrage. If they do Astral Barrage, they can kill your Solosis on a bench. So with damage counters as well. So be very careful with that. I got matched up against a Kirlia, the new Kirlia with Gardevoir, with the old Gardevoir. They're playing, Gardevoir for the support using Shadow Rider as the attacker. And they also have like Cresselia for extra energies as well, for the early start. So they're playing a Shadow Rider Gardevoir deck with the new Kirlia, and we actually lost that game, and I couldn't put it in this video just because we don't have an extra Raihan. So we end up having not enough energies to attack with our Jynx. If we have enough energies, we wouldn't be stopping our attack flow, and that's why I can't stress enough how much Raihans and energies we need in the deck. We need 2 double turbo, 4 twins, and 2 Raihan. We even have a Pal Pad to cycle back the Raihan. So there's no excuse now for them to say that, oh, you have no energies to attack, you have no ways to attack this turn. No way. We're not going to give them any excuse. We're going to be like, fuck you. We are able to attack every single turn. There's just no way you're not giving us an energy right now. So only one Meowstic is a bit risky, but we don't really have the bench spot for it anyways. We have no space for a Meowstic, a second Meowstic, so it really doesn't make sense for you to play more than 1 copy. If you have it priced, you should be able to get your supporter cards, because, I don't know. If you have the basic price, we have 1 heavy ball to get it out. We have 1 heavy ball for Espurr. If you have the Meowstic price though, you can't use his ability at all throughout the game. And I don't think you'll be that unlucky. If you are though, you would probably get your Snorlax as the early start. You would either get Snorlax to the Gorman Dice early, or you would get your supporter cards more easily. I don't think they would screw you over that much. We do have a lot of supporters in this deck to recover, and the Snorlax, 2 copies of Snorlax, so I don't think it's that bad if we get that Meowstic priced. It doesn't really do much though. It does help you search for any supporter, maybe do a Serena for the boss effect, but you don't really need to rely on it too much. Obviously you have to bench it early if you can, make sure you do that. just because it has the search power for you to get extra draw with your Bruno. If you can play Bruno at the right time, you get, you know, the Rare Candy Evolution, the Twin Energy more easily for you to do your Cell Fork early, and that actually helps you. It makes a lot of difference. So we got a solid 4 copies of VIP Pass and 4 Quick Balls. We got a lot of ways to put our basic Pokemons on the bench. We got a lot of, like, quite a lot of Incense and Ultra Balls as well. 3 Incense, 2 Ultra Ball, 5 a total of Evolution cards. I would love to play Arceus, but it doesn't help you get the energy though. I don't think we get to play Arceus for this deck just because we have no Bibarel to get the energy, or like, you know, Shining Fate Celebi to draw the energy out. We need the Double Turbo or the Twin. And if we do only the Evolution, it's just not enough. It would make a little sense to play Arceus to do both the Rare Candy Evolution and also the Stage 1 on your second turn, while preparing for the Meowstic, right, on the next turn. Because if they do a Marnie, you would probably get something else. If they don't play a Marnie, you would get your Inviting Ears ability. I keep forgetting the ability. So Inviting Ears actually helps you search your deck for any 2 supporter, helping you draw with its ability, essentially. 2 supporter is pretty cool because you can play either Bird Keeper or Raihan, and then keep the other supporter in your hand for the next turn. So you can search for a Bruno and a Raihan, play the Raihan right now and keep the Bruno for later. You can play the Bird Keeper right now for a switch effect to, you know, put the Snorlax into the bench and attack with your Reuniclus before they do the boss, before they boss and knock it out. You actually get to search for your Bird Keeper to attack with your Reuniclus right after doing the Rare Candy Evolution on your second turn. That's actually a lot more powerful. It has the potential to do that just because we are playing 1 copy of Bird Keeper. And that actually helps you accelerate your gameplay. It gives you an early start to do extra, you know, to hit fast with your Cell Fork, get damage in the game fast, and that's doing a lot. Like, I can't stress it enough. This game is all about speed. If you can get as much damage as possible into the game, even tiny damages early, if you can get it faster than your opponent, then you actually win the game. Obviously, it depends on what matchup it is and what type of deck each player is playing. But that's normally the case. That's basically the golden rule. If you can do a lot every single turn, you win the game. The more you can do, the faster you can pull it off. Your combos, your strategies, the easier, you know, the closer you are to the finish line. Okay, right now they have Arceus VSTAR in the active. We're gonna play a Raihan, and this is actually really close. He has 2 prize remaining. We have 3 prize remaining. We have to kill, unfortunately, 2 V-Stars or possibly one of the V on the bench, in addition to the Arceus or another V. Well, we essentially have to kill 2 Vs to win the game. My bad. I'm being really weird right now. So we either get to search for Jynx or Alakazam. I think I made the mistake of rodding the wrong Pokemon. We should have rodded both Jynxes into the deck because they couldn't quite easily do a boss. If they boss to deal with the Jynx though, they're not drawing any prizes. So let's hope they don't do a boss. If they don't draw any prizes, we got more strikes with the Reuniclus. We may be able to kill them with 2 more hits of Cell Fork and Alakazam to transfer it to the active. So that's like 80 damage every single turn. If they don't play any more Lucky Ice Pops, I think we got the win. We got like 3 more shots if they do the boss. We got 3 more shots with Cell Fork, and 8 times 3 is 240. I think that's more than enough to kill off the Arceus. We just need to make sure we get the Alakazam on the next turn. We should be getting Alakazam right now though, rather than the Jynx. But I don't think... Oh no, my bad. We should be getting the Jynx because we have no more switches. We have no more switches on the next turn. And that means if they kill our Reuniclus, or boss anything on the bench, then we can't actually retreat. We actually have to prepare the Jynx on the bench, and that means it would have been wiser for us to get, you know, if we shuffled back a second Jynx, we could have used the second one to attack with, because we actually have another Twin Energy inside the deck, and that means we can quite easily do the retreat with our Reuniclus if they do the boss, bench our second Jynx with the Marnie, and attach the energy to do Psychic Assault, winning the game against the Arceus. We even have Alakazam to transfer more damage counters on the active, and they just played Lucky Ice Pop. Luckily Fortunately, they flip the tails, and that means we need a lot less damage on the Arceus to win the game. We still need the Psychic Assault. We would have won right now, right this turn, if they did not heal on the last. But unfortunately, they did. So they can still actually win the game with a boss, unfortunately. This is actually quite frustrating. We got so close. Let's hope they don't play a boss. If they kill the Jynx, they're not drawing any prizes. So honestly, we should be playing the Jynx first. I don't think we should be attacking with the Reuniclus first. We should have just retreat and attack with the Jynx before doing another Self Fork. And then Jynx again on the next turn, right? We should do Jynx. Whenever you have a Jynx in play, and if you can retreat, if you have extra energies on the next turn, make sure you play your Jynx. But we have no Alakazam though. If we get 2 Jynxes, we actually have to play the Reuniclus at some point. Because if they boss the Reuniclus, then we have nothing but Jynx to attack, and I don't think it can kill the Goodras that easily. We do have a Serena though. We can deal with this the first Goodra, the first one that has like about 19 damage counters on it before we did the final Self Fork. I think it has like 19 damage counters on it, and that means we can just play Serena for the final kill, doing another Psychic Assault with another Jynx. So for this game, we actually won with a different strategy. They healed again with the Pokemon Center Lady, super annoying, and now they are down to 70 HP remaining. We actually have nothing to attack but Alakazam. If you notice, we have a rare candy. We can actually pull out our Reuniclus for 60 damage, but I don't think we should be playing that. I think we should just be doing Mind Ruler, because it's also 60 damage and it's not doing any damage to the bench, but we just need one last prize. We just need to kill this Arceus and we are home free. So let's just transfer with paint. Don't forget to transfer to the active, just because they have 70 HP remaining and they didn't draw any prizes from the Jynx. That means they have only 3 cards in their hand, and we are only doing 60 damage with Mind Ruler, which is more than enough to kill off the Arceus. And we won against Arceus Goodra, yo. That is delicious. Okay, now we're up against a Shadow Rider VMAX. Shadow Rider with Articuno, which is a very base Shadow Rider deck, I would say. Not too powerful. But Shadow Rider on its own though is just like really strong. It is a VMAX, so we should be winning this game. We're trying to target VMAXs here. If they play a 1 prize, we are spreading a lot of damage, and we can actually choose what to kill though. You have the potential to win a Lunatone deck if you can hit early. And if they don't get their Scuba Net at the right time, if they scoop it up way too early and are left with only 2 left in their deck, if they have 2 more Scuba Nets to recover damage from the Soul Rock, for example, they can actually play them at the right time. They can play them at the critical moment just before the Soul Rock is dead, just before Soul Rock gets knocked out, to deny us, you know, the damage counter knockout. But we have our Alakazam with Scuba Net as well, so we can actually transfer up to 4 damage counter in a single turn with the Scuba Net and Radiant Alakazam by using Painful Spoons twice in a single turn. And that's actually equal to, if we have like 3 damage counter on the Soul Rock, well, transferring 4 isn't enough though. We need to transfer 6, right? So it's gonna be a lot more difficult. If you have like 6 damage counters on it, they're probably gonna do they're either gonna do a heal card, or they're either gonna recover that Pokemon or play a Scuba Net. So we can't actually expect them not to do that, because Lunatone Solrox play a lot of Scuba Nets in their deck. And right now they have Cresselia in the active, playing a Shadow Rider from Astro Radiance, I think. The character rare one, Astro Radiance. Okay, we kind of have to check what we have inside the deck almost every game, just because you could have your Reuniclus prize. Well, we have 2 copy, we shouldn't have it prized. Like, we shouldn't have both prized. You could have your Meowstic prized, you could have your Manaphy prized, And they are playing a bench snipe with that Articuno. Articuno can do Psy Laser, killing off any Pokemon on the bench with 120 damage, except for Snorlax, just because it has 130 HP. But they should be able to kill a Reuniclus, a Solosis, anything on the bench, but they are required to discard all energies though. If they are getting knocked out on the next turn, I don't think it matters. You know, if you are getting knocked out anyways, might as well just discard your energy with Psy Laser. Your opponent can always choose to do a boss right after you play your Psy Laser, just to, you know, just to fuck you up. Okay, we're gonna get an Espurr because apparently we got no supporter cards, but we do have our Snorlax in the active. We have our Rod inside the deck. I think I checked. So we're gonna bench the Manaphy right now. We're discarding quite a lot of cards. We discarded one Rare Candy and one Reuniclus, but we do have 3 more inside the deck with like 1 extra Reuniclus and 1 Rod for the evolution. 3 more Rare Candies. Okay, we're gonna get... Sorry, we got our Gabe Jabok and Radiant Alakazam. We're gonna play it on the next turn. And here comes Cresselia. I think it's their first turn. Oh no, it's their second turn because they attached their energy. They evolved, my bad. So it's their second turn. They didn't play a Cresselia, which is a bit surprising for a Shadow Rider deck. No Cresselia on the first turn. I think they go first though. My bad. I think they went first. I'm not sure now. I'm not too sure. Well, it was definitely our first turn on the last, because we couldn't evolve. So if it was our first turn, that means they went first. And going first means you can't play Cresselia on your first turn. You can't do Crescent Glow for 3 energy. You can only do Crescent Glow for 1. Photon Laser. We used to have Volcanion with the same sort of effect. Search your deck for 2 energy and attach it to your bench Pokemon in any way you like though. Only 2, but you get to search for, you know, you get to, what's it called again? Flare Starter? You get to search your deck for any 2 fire energy and attach it to your bench Pokemon in any way you like, which is pretty cool. Whereas Cresselia only allows you to concentrate all 3 energies onto a single Pokemon, which is quite terrible, honestly. Because if your opponent play a boss early, if they do an Arceus VSTAR, if they play Starbirth for double turbo Choice Belt, they can quite easily do a boss to kill your Shadow Rider before it evolves. If they go first, they win the game, because boss is gonna deal with Shadow Rider. Okay, we got training court in the stadium. They gave us a training court. We chose not to play it because we need to have the energy in the discard pile in order to play a Raihan. So we're basically preparing the energy for Raihan to get us that extra 1 on the next turn, because we should be playing Raihan at some point. So discarding it early is kind of essential. Even if you don't need, even if you're not attaching to your Pokemon, you may actually have that Pokemon knocked out late. If they knock out if they choose to knock out that Pokemon late, or if you can't actually attack with that Pokemon without getting a second single energy, if you have to waste that energy as well, I don't think it matters. It's better just to waste that 1 energy and then play a Raihan on the next turn to, attach to a new Pokemon on the bench, because we can't actually bench everything on the same turn. If we get a full bench, we're gonna get Avery. You're gonna play an Avery to force us to discard our Jynx. So you actually have to play a Jynx at the last second, later on in the game, and then play the Raihan to get that energy back on, back into play, but onto a different Pokemon. If you attach too many energies right now onto all of your Reunicluses, it would basically be, it would not be that useful as opposed to preparing your Jynx to attack on your next turn. So obviously save your Raihan for Jynx, but you should be using it according to the situation. Okay, here comes Max Geist, 490 damage. And we got our Duosion. Okay. Interesting fact about Reuniclus is that if they play a Canceling Cologne, I actually played it once. I got matched up against a player that does Canceling Cologne, before they knock out my Reuniclus, and that actually forces you to discard that Pokemon. That means you cannot actually put that Pokemon back into your hand, and all attached cards as well, including Solosis, Duosion. Obviously, the tool card and energy cards goes without saying. You have to discard those, but the base evolutions as well, you have to discard them just because they cancel your ability. So we got our rare candy evolution right now. We're gonna do it. We actually played a Bruno, and we were so confident we were gonna get the rare candy evolution just because we have a lot of incense. We have a lot of evolution, evolution summoners in the deck. A lot of ways to get our evolution card, and also a lot of ways to get, well, a lot of rare candies in the deck. My bad. So it would be quite easy for us to get, one of the rare candies, including either an incense or, the second Reuniclus. So always be aware of what you have in the deck, especially mid-game. If you're, in the mid stage of the game, if you can track what you have still inside the deck and what you have in the prize, what you have in the discard pile, if you know what you have inside the deck, it's more easy to make decisions. You would be a bit more confident to play either Bruno or Marnie. You can choose a bit wiser to play whichever supporter at the right time. And that actually helps you in the game a lot. It gives you a huge advantage if you are constantly aware of how many cards left you have in the deck, how many more quick balls, how many more incense, how many more resources do you have to spare in the deck for you to do the rare candy, for you to get your energy cards, for you to do a Raihan, for you to play Serena on the next turn or something like that, for you to get your Meowstic later on in the game. You have to plan ahead, but not too far ahead though. 310 damage, unnecessary. They even have a Mewtwo VSTAR, so I think their main strategy is to attack with the new Shadow Rider on the bench. They need to be tanking damage and then keep on retreating, but we do have Serena though. We have our second Serena right now, and even a Pal Pad to cycle back both the Serena. We have one in the discard pile, so that means we can use a total of 3 times Serena's boss effect. We can even use it to draw cards right now, and then play it for the boss effect later, just because we don't need the boss effect this turn. But we should be keeping it though. We don't need to do anything else. We don't need to draw the energy for the next turn, I don't think. Oh my goodness, we actually do though, because we have no cards in our hand. We have no Meowstic as well. Meowstic is already evolved, that means the ability is over. So I think we should be drawing cards. Unfortunately, we have to play the Serena for the draw support, just because we got no energies for the next turn. And are we gonna play the Pal Pad? Oh, that was our first Serena. My bad. That was the first one. So we have another for to deal with one of the VMAX, and a second one to deal with the second VMAX. Sorry, second and third, just because we are shuffling them back with the Pal Pad later. So always use Pal Pad late game. If you have it shuffled in the deck though, you would probably get it with a Marnie. You would eventually draw it out anyways. If you shuffle the deck with a quick ball, you can draw it out a bit faster. So make sure after playing a Marnie, after you get Marnie, if you play a item card, you can actually shuffle the deck and get those cards back out more easily. Shuffling sometimes is a huge deal. Do not underestimate a deck shuffle. I know it's ridiculous to shuffle your deck, but that small effect can actually change the entire game. It can help you win, a crazy unbalanced situation. If you win against a meta deck by just shuffling your deck, that will be insane. So it's all about knowing what you have in the deck and knowing how to arrange it and what to play at the right time. But that's all about gameplay though. Deck build is an entirely different story. If you have the right cards, you should be able to do the right things in gameplay. If you don't have the right cards though, if you have not enough energies, if you don't play enough double turbo or twin energy, you're just not going to get anything. No matter what you do, no matter how good you are at gameplay, you're just not going to get the energy. You're not going to be able to attack for at least one turn, and one turn is all it takes for them to swoop in and collect extra prizes for the win, and your opponent is going to destroy you by doing a boss, destroy you by, killing your Alakazam, denying you that ability. If you don't attack every single turn, you have no threat You have no visible threat and they can actually target anything on the bench. If you're attacking with a Reuniclus, that is your visible threat. Your visible threat. Why is that word so difficult? Okay, we're gonna Painful Spoons onto the active and then Psychic Assault. We should actually have done Painful Spoons on the last turn as well. I did not realize that. No, my bad. We should have done the Scoop Up Net. We should have scooped up the Alakazam, and that could have given us an extra 2 damage counters on the active. And that means we would be doing 130 damage with Psychic Assault because of the double turbo reduction. So now we are only doing 110 damage. 110 is quite low. But all we need is to shuffle back the Jynx though. If we have a Rod, we should be able to win the game. They're not drawing a prize if they kill a Jynx. So they have to deal with it as well. If they don't, we're going to play Serena and attack with the same Jynx on the Shadow Rider. We got 3 Serenas right now, as I keep saying. 1 in our hand and 1 Pal Pad to cycle back the 2. Retreating is not going to help them because we got way too many Serenas. Okay, they're trying to draw prizes for the win. They're trying to race past the finish line. But all we need to do right now is to play double Serena. Like, if they keep doing that, we just need Serena twice. We can even do the Radiant Alakazam effect. So they should have done the boss on the Alakazam. Then they would actually be denying us the ability. And that means we need to hit... we need to play Serena 3 times. But we do have the Meowstic though. We do have the Meowstic to get it out into our hand. If they play a Marnie, we would get it out anyways, probably. Because we have very few cards left in the deck. So 3, the reason we need 3 is because we need actually 2 strikes to kill the second Shadow. The first Shadow Rider actually that has only 15 damage counters on it. And that's not actually enough if we play a double turbo. If we play, if we get a Twin Energy on the next turn though, we can actually retreat to the second Jynx and then boss, Serena for the second knockout for, you know, another 3 prize for the win. So there are a lot of ways to win the game. You just need to be creative and open-minded enough. Make sure you are alert as well. Okay, we're gonna get 1 Solosis onto the bench. Checking the deck again, very, very important. How many copies of each basic? How many copies of the evolutions? Do we have a Manaphy? Do we have a Alakazam? Are we required to play a Heavy Ball? We have no Peonia in this deck, but we do have Heavy Ball, so I think we should be fine. Okay, they're playing a Lost Box with, I'm giving out spoilers, but they're doing Rapid Strike Urshifu, the VMAX, with Lost Box, which is very interesting. But if your opponent plays a Manaphy, you kind of need a lot of bosses. If you do boss and chorus at the same time, I don't think it's that strong anymore. I think they're trying to pair, they're trying to mix, you know, Rapid Flow, Gmax Rapid Flow with Lost Mine, because Sableye can basically collect the knockout with Lost Mine after doing your Rapid Flow. So Rapid Flow Lost Mine is kind of a cool combo, but I don't think it works that well just because Manaphy is quite difficult to deal with unless if you play Lost City. You can do Lost City though. Lost City boss to deal with the Manaphy. And then on the next turn you got 2 prize at a time for every strike. 2 prize every single turn is really, really powerful. They may not have the energy necessary though, but they do have the Mirage Gate. If they play enough Mirage Gates, they are required to discard all energies, but they can, you know, fit in enough Recyclers to deal with that. So if they do Mirage Gate and then Recycler, Mirage Gate again, eventually they're gonna get like all 6 prizes, because that's 2 prizes at a time if they kill all the low HP Pokemons. So the only Pokemon that we have more than 120 HP is Snorlax. And Snorlax is not doing a big attack. It has the body slam attack that you should not be ignoring. You should be aware of every attack that is available to you, even Rain Splash Manaphy. But Rain Splash isn't really available, my bad, because we are playing Colorless and Psychic Energy, so we can't actually use Manaphy's Rain Splash. It is a water energy cost. We're gonna get Marnie and Serena right now, and let's play... Oh, we can't actually play those cards. So we are putting them at a, we are shuffling them back, my bad. I thought we searched for them with a Meowstic. Okay, let's focus on the game right now. They actually have a Cramorant with Urshifu. Very interesting. We got Incense in our hand. Let's hope they don't do a boss. Or a Marnie. If they do a boss, they can kill the Solosis, the Duosion, and then deny us our first Cell Fork. So Cramorant is quite crazy because they can quite easily do a boss on your stage 1 Pokemons on the bench. And then if you are not planning to evolve as well, it's going to be really bad, like a Flaffy, Chinchino, Bibarel. They need Articuno for Bibarel though. Okay, we're going to get a Jynx possibly, or maybe another Solosis. I think we kind of need to bench 2 Solosis at least every single turn, every single game. If we don't play 2 Solosis, it's not gonna be fast enough. We're not gonna be able to loop the strategy, and it's gonna basically come back and bite us. Okay, we're gonna charge up the Jynx and then scoop up the do we have the scoop up net for the Snorlax? We have the scoop up net. I think we should be attacking right now. We're gonna scoop up the Snorlax and Cell Fork for our first hit. I don't think they can kill the Reuniclus in the active. If they don't evolve though, they may be able to pull it off because they have 130 exact damage in the game. Okay, we are hitting for the weakness against Urshifu because we are playing a Psychic deck. So it isn't really as fair as I would like. But we are playing Manaphy as well against Urshifu, so you kind of have to think about every counter if you're up against your weakness. What can I do? What can I add into the deck if I'm up against a 1 prize? Or if I'm up against a VSTAR, a full VSTAR, a full VMAX deck? What cards can I play? Right? What cards should I add into the deck? And that is actually going to matter a lot, because if you have the wrong cards inside the deck, you're not going to be able to do anything, even with the best gameplay. Even if you're like an expert in gameplay, you're not going to be able to win the game that easily. It's not just about deck build, and it's not just about gameplay. It's both. So they're not even knocking out our active 90 damage just because we are resistant to fighting Pokemon. So that means we got an extra 1 turn to do another Cell Fork for 120 damage in the active. Plus 6 damage counters on the bench. That's 180. That's equivalent to a Dragapult VMAX. Dragapult VMAX is doing 130 damage to the active, plus like 5 damage counters on the bench. Okay, we're gonna do Cell Fork. Wait, we're gonna retreat. Are we gonna do Psychic Assault this turn? Or are we just gonna play... Psychic Assault is actually enough to knock it out though, because we're doing 120, 130. And that's equal to 260 damage from a Psychic Pokemon. 260 plus 120. That's equal to 380 damage. So we could have done a Psychic Assault to kill off the VMAX in the active, but we chose to play our Cell Fork another time instead. So they actually conceded already. They chose not to play anything. They chose not to play any cards. They chose not to attack. They chose not to... They just paused the turn, not doing anything. I think they're just delaying the game. I don't know what's happening here, but they essentially conceded on the last turn because they did nothing, and now they're constantly doing nothing over and over again. So I'm gonna fast forward this part and show you guys the next video. You'll see in a bit. I'll fast forward it right now. Blah blah blah. They got the Comfy, and we're checking our deck. Discard pile, my bad. And they just conceded. They finally forfeited. I don't think they concede though. I think they forfeited because they did nothing for too long, for so many turns. Okay, let's go for our final game versus Braixen. Serena's Braixen with Meowstic. They got Meowstic as well, doing Inviting Ears for a supporter search. For a double supporter search, my bad. So they are probably going to search for, well, they have to. So the main strategy is to search for double Serena using Meowstic's ability, and then using one copy, playing one copy from your hand to discard all of the Serenas from your hand, as many as you can, to do as much damage with Flare Parade. Braixen has the Flare Parade attack, doing 60x damage for each Serena in your discard pile. So that means if you have one in your hand already, you can use Meowstic's ability to search for another 2, and play one from your hand to discard the other 2. You actually have to discard first before drawing cards into your hand, and that means you can't actually discard the new copies. If you draw another Serena by discarding your hand, you can't actually discard the new ones unless if you play Quick Ball, Ultra Ball, or any of the cards to discard those from your hand. And you can even do Grant, but Grant doesn't work for fire type. Grant is a fighting, is a specific card that only works for fighting Pokemons, and it does do 30 extra damage to your opponent's active Pokemon, which is kind of necessary for Braixen, just because it's doing only 240 damage, which is not enough to kill a VSTAR or a VMAX. So they don't have Howlucha, but not even with the Howlucha are you able to kill a VMAX Pokemon with Braixen and a Choice Belt. So you kind of need something like a Zigzagoon or Quick Shoot Inteleon, to add a few more damage counters to finish off those V-Star or VMAXs. If they are playing high HP Pokemon, if they play something like Hisuian Typhlosion V-Star, they don't actually have that much HP. So you can actually hit for a one-hit knockout against low HP V-Stars, I suppose. They are actually playing Radiant Jirachi for this deck, which is pretty cool. One of the Japanese list. So Jirachi has the Doom Desire attack, I think. I'm not too sure what it's called, but it has the attack, the Twin Energy attack, that allows you to knock out your opponent's active Pokemon instantly if you flip 2 heads with that attack. So you are flipping 2 coins, and if you flip 2 heads, you get an extra kill, which is super cool. But not only that, it has the ability that allows you to search your deck for any 3 cards. If it is knocked out by damage from your opponent's attack, you get to search for 3 cards, which is so great. But it only works if your opponent don't play a Path to the Peak, because it's a Radiant ability. Your opponent can quite easily do Path to the Peak before knocking out your Jirachi, and that means you can't use that ability. You got 0 search. It's a level ball card, it's a rescue carrier card, it's just crazy. So if you're playing any Twin Energy deck, if you're doing double turbo in your deck, you can quite easily add a Radiant Jirachi to do Doom Desire a couple times, get, a few free knockouts for extra prizes. So Lost City is very in the game right now, and if you play Lost City, you can quite easily deal with the Jirachi, lost it, and that means they can't use Rescue Carrier, they can't keep on using the same Jirachi to attack, they can't keep on flipping coins. So Glimwood Tangler is going to give them a higher chance of flipping double heads for them to do an instant knockout, but even if they do, we're playing a full 1 prize, it's not going to help them a lot. It really depends on who is going to draw the first prize, who is going to be able to attack first. We already attached our Twin Energy to Snorlax, so we're preparing to do our Body Slam for our first knockout. If they don't evolve and discard a Serena this turn, if they don't switch, if they don't attack, I think we should be able to win the game quite easily. So here comes the switch. Are they able to evolve and attack? Can they do enough damage though? They need 3 discards. Double discard is not enough. If they play a Serena, they can't do a boss, and Serena doesn't actually allows you to drag any 1 prize Pokemon on the bench into the active. It only allows you to pull V Pokemons on the bench, on your opponent's bench. Okay, here comes the double turbo. We got our first kill against Fennekin. So that's why I say it's so important to play that many energies in the deck. You need a lot of copies of the double and twin, even with the Raihan. So we're not gonna flip another coin. Doesn't really matter. I was kind of thrown off by that pop-up, because they are actually playing a Glimwood Tangle, so we actually get an extra shot at flipping the coin for the paralysis, doing Body Slam. Okay, here comes Meowstic and another Serena. Oh my goodness, they had to discard the double turbo, which is just ugly, isn't it? And they have Chinchino as well for an additional draw support. So Meowstic is kind of like a search support. It doesn't really draw you enough cards if you are playing nothing but Serena in your deck. If you have like Research with Serena, you can play Research to discard all of the Serena after playing your Meowstic. So for example, like if you have a Research in your hand or a Serena in your hand, you can search for a Research and a Serena to discard like 2 copies at least, and then play Ultra Ball to discard more, and that gives you 240 damage in a single turn, which is pretty cool. I think you kind of need Burnett or some other way of discarding the supporter though. Professor's Burnett I think would work really well because all you need is 4 discards. All you need is 4 discards. If they get prized though, I think that would be horrendous because you can still get your Serena prized, and that means you're doing a lot less damage, which is just horrible. 60x is not a lot. I mean, Meloetta is doing 70x. Why isn't Braixen doing 70x? I guess it doesn't have a strike. It doesn't have a strike symbol. It doesn't have a tag. So Meloetta is a fusion strike tag. This card is basically a regular Pokemon. I don't think it gets to have that much damage. Vespiquen also does 60x for each sweet honey card you have in your hand. And you get to play Milotic with that, which is so cool. I think we played Radiant Eevee for our Vespiquen deck. So if you guys want to check it out, it's on our channel. Just type the filters, search for Vespiquen. It's not doing enough to kill a VSTAR as well. 240 plus Choice Belt, and there's nothing for grass decks to add extra damage. There's Grant for fighting type Pokemons to add another 30. There's Leon to add another 30 for all decks. There's also Rapidash now. Rapidash from Silver Tempest, which actually allows you to do 30 more damage with your fire type Pokemon on your opponent's active. By discarding a fire energy from your hand, you need to discard a fire energy in order to use this ability. And if you do, you get to do 30 more for each Rapidash you have in play. Obviously, for each in play, you have to discard another energy though. So if you want to play the ability twice, if you want to stack the ability 2 times, if you want to do 60 extra damage, you need to discard 2 energies from your hand, in addition to attaching a twin for you to attack with your Braixen, or maybe do a Magma Basin as well. Basin for a Braixen. I quite like the combo between Rapidash and Braixen because you actually don't need you don't really need to play the regular, the boring combos like Zigzagoon, Inteleon. You can actually play Rapidash, which is a new card. So they actually conceded because we got the first few prize in the game. So that's it. That's all for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Have a great day and bye for now, lovely people. Enjoy life.